Welcome back to the TFT EU Qualifier presented by KitKat. My name's still TJ. We do still have many games to go, maybe. Let's take a look at how that scoring format works one more time. There was some confusion, so there are two phases. Step one is very standard. You win a game, you get 10 points, you go out in 8th place, you get just 1 point, everything in between. Once you've earned 18 points, then you move to step 2. And phase 2 is if you win a first place, you win the entire tournament. We end there. The next 2 places are locked in as 2nd and 3rd, also eligible to go to Galaxies. We're going to take a look at the scoreboard in a moment. I'm joined first by Matt Niberia Daniel, former LPL commentator, an excellent human being, as well as Witter, who is an alright human being, but a TFT analyst, and that's why we have him on. Witter, as we pull up this scoreboard, I want you to talk about the 2 players that are currently at that step 2, that have already earned 18 points. What has stood out to you about their play so far?
So I think that Double obviously has been super consistent. Like, he has just been an absolute machine, right? And he almost got it. He almost got that Astro Sniper transition through to a point where we actually could have seen him take last lobby, but it just barely wasn't enough. And Lev again just showing up. Like, I was hyping up this guy throughout our entire early games, early broadcast segments, because this guy, once he gets his comms going, is super flexible, has super good basics understanding of the game in terms of just being able to move around his unit, just position correctly, itemize incredibly well, prioritize the right things. And again, I just think that we've seen very stable play from them so far.
I've been really impressed by our 2 winners as well. I want to talk about Double, though, who didn't actually have a very impressive game that last game. We saw him early draft a Riven carry, which, Matt, you were super psyched for, and then nothing else went right for him.
So, yeah, but, okay, bear with me. First off, Riven is sick, and I will never criticize anyone for picking Riven at any time. Second, I think a top 4 finish is perfectly acceptable, and not only that, but it's very good. The start he had was a little bit rough. He was looking towards something like a Nico, but never hit it. So he was in a rough spot where he had these perfect items for Nico, needed to transition out. The intermediary he found was a Riven, and then he transitioned into Astro Snipers. That's 2 transitions in 1 game from not hitting the units that he was looking for. Despite all that, he still managed to finish in top 4, exactly 4th place, but we call that a top 4 to make everyone feel better. That's why I call it top 8 every time I play normals. Anyways, the big thing there is that consistency is key. Double 61 placed 2nd, 1st, and 4th. He is now in 1st place. You want to know who's in 2nd place? Lev, who went 4th, 2nd, 2nd. So as long as you can maintain those top 4s, now you've got to look for the 1st place, of course. But those top 4s, I think, especially with that rough start, 100% should be happy with that.
They keep you relevant should somebody else win. You're still poised to go ahead and lock in those 2-3 slots to go to Galaxies. I like your call out for consistency with the top 8s in your normal games. I've seen your match history. Does check out, Matt, so I'm happy you're able to achieve your own goals there. Oh, sorry. I had to throw away my cat earlier. We have to lock her in a room because there's thunderstorms, so I'm just happy to see that Foxy the dog is still chilling out in your background. Let's move on. I want to talk compositions, Witter. We touched previously on the mech comp not really working out as a one-trick for Tanpop. We also have Solo, who loves these Blade Masters. He's been diversifying a little bit. Can you talk to me about that?
Solo is on the Battlecast, right? And again, sometimes when you go for these reroll compositions, you get to a point where you reach a critical mass where you can't move out of them. But again, it looks like Solo got the item that he wanted to look for as well here. Tanpop takes a bow start here, interestingly enough. Doesn't see why that goes.
I'm interested to
we
see
are
that.
on salvage. We are in this salvage world though, and this galaxy is amazing. Like, there are so many things going on here. You're like, when you get like a new toy, I don't want to play with you anymore. Instead, now you can just like remake the old toy and just make it go conjoin with your new toy, and it's just fantastic. It really showcases a lot of skill in terms of understanding transitions, in terms of just ensuring that you can make early item slams and then go out of that again if you end up being stuck.
Yeah, this planet actually demonstrates a lot of skill with the game overall and a lot of deep understanding of where your item breakpoints are, where relative strength is for those items. But I've seen it actually trip up a few pro players because one of the most common strategies in TFT, build an item on someone on the bench, sell that unit, toss the completed item onto a unit on the board. That doesn't work here. So there are some subtle changes you need to make, but I'm so excited to see, especially our flexible players, be able to come out with some crazy compositions and some crazy pivots coming into the later stages of the game.
Does Tanpop just call it already, by the way? Has half a QSS, has half of the Titans Resolve as well. Like, getting this early Rumble here is going to be incredibly pivotal because it can also just be one of those units that just help you carry you through the early game, right? Because, again, Rumble, we've seen it in so many of the previous games as well. It can just almost 1v4 an early game fight, right? Like, that's the Smurf on the enemy team when you're playing solo queue in Bronze Fall, you know? Like, this guy can do, like, Rumble as a unit can just take over the entire early game.
Well, I mean, it is Tanpop, so he's probably going to call it right here and be like, yup, it's a mech game, let's go. Bell not really going to help him with the items there. Keeps the Rumble. Maybe looking for a Ziggs to get that Demolitionist there for those early levels, early power. Wonder if he's going to take this Jarvan.
So again, very big issue for him is he didn't find the 6. I mean, this Rumble is now going to get a little bit stuck in terms of effectiveness. But Lev here again, is he going to slam this IE already? Because again, you can just slam IE right now if you are Lev without getting super punished for it, unless you're going to be playing this set until late game. And IE set in the early game does a lot of work. You'd be very surprised.
Yeah, but I think more interestingly than that, the man found 2 Nikos by 2-1. This is incredibly strong, especially if you go for something like a reroll composition. You're going to be able to find unit after unit after unit, and then could go for, you know, if you want your first 5 cost, you can 2-star that immediately. Or if you're going for a 3-star, you only need 7 units to find it.
As we get a little bit of an insight into what Lev D. Trotsky is jamming, it's going to be that Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know? No Californication this time
Great
around.
choice.
So there's no else, you know? But
Double? Already going for the Cassiopeia with the blue buff. This is a great start for him. We want to keep an eye, mostly this game, on Lev and Double. Keep an eye on how their games are going, because this is the 1st or 8th game. This is when you can start getting real frisky with your compositions. And Tan slammed the Trap Claw already, trying to get a little bit of that early power. But it's not going to be proc just yet. So Nocturne will likely be the one who gets stunned up by it. Not going to be able to find it. Tanpop continuing that win streak as Lev having a bit of a rough early game, but should be in a comfortable spot.
should be in a very comfortable spot indeed, and just see where this goes. And this is a rough point right now for Lev, however, because he's holding so many different openings in terms of where he can take his calm towards, and he hasn't hit any pairs right now. Like, he's sitting on 4 different pairs, and that's a lot of different pairs to be working with.
Yeah, this is definitely where the analysis paralysis comes in, where you say, okay, I could do this start, I could do this start, I can maybe do this start, and then transition into this. And a lot of times, this is where you'll see players who are not used to playing super flexibly falter, especially in these tournament settings, because they will be indecisive for too long and end up with such a weak early start that they can never transition into a stronger board. So I want to see Lev try and figure out a strong direction within the next 2-3 rounds, hopefully off this carousel alone, and then from there try and push.
Most definitely. And this
So far,
carousel here can become really... And I want to point something out here. We haven't had a full item carousel early on, or like a only defensive, or like we haven't had any like proper like bad carousels yet, I'd say. And the thing I want to highlight is the reason, because on Salvage World, like getting those quote unquote like bad carousels named after our Lord and Savior developer is not necessarily as bad, because you get 2 components instead of 1, right? So it's kind of harder to get screwed over by that happening to you. And I think that is an upside we don't talk too much about when it comes to Salvage World.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique ways to play on this particular Galaxy, and that's why it's so interesting, especially at a professional level. This is the Galaxy that I would say rewards flexible players the most. You could argue that Treasure Trove also rewards them, but Salvage World allows you to go for very distinct compositions with ideal items for those compositions, and then pivot entirely into a different composition right off of it. And I think that's why it's such an interesting one at the competitive level. Pop finds the Fizz.
Here. 2-5. Now it's down to... I mean, there we go. It's Titans Resolve slammed. I mean, again, it's Salvage World, so you can always transition out of it, but I think it's a strong signal to send. Issue being no Rumble, no Annie. But again, with this opener right here, just having the Fizz with the Infiltrators itself is an incredibly potent start. And again, Fizz's early AoE is super, super huge here. And you can see Solar Gasang, very strong opener.
Very strong opener and going for Cybernetics nonetheless, which we get to see him play. He's clearly adjusted his strategy after the first 2 games, realizing that it's just not going to cut it going for his traditional Battlecast opener. And so far, to his credit, he's finding success in this game at the very least.
Yes, so also worth noting is that with Cybernetics, is the Cybers have always been like a traditional early game thing you then pivot out of. And again, like with this being Salvage World, you can slam the items that you need, right? And to help those Cybers get you through the mid game. And then all of a sudden, you can just remake your items when you go for that proper transition you want to go for. And again, that is one of the big upsides here, that a lot of other things will have a lot higher priority. And we see Daisy here taking a little bit of a beating, but has that mech ready to go here. Has that Morellonomicon already available, can also go for a Hand of Justice in case he wants to go that. Right? Well, he wants to prioritize that instead of prioritizing a blue buff, but has really good items to at least try to transition into the mech.
That said, though, he's running into Magarki with a very, very terrifying Darius. Should be able to wipe the floor with this composition. Slowly but surely, chugging through it. Good demolition is stunned there. That will be the round going over to Magarki, who's got a fantastic start with both the Bard and the Space Pirate start.
So as we go into the first PvE round, let's just talk about the state of the game right now. Double 61, 100 HP. This guy just does not relent. He just does it again and again and again, finds himself in those top positions, does not want to give up anything here. And again, if he wins this game, he takes the tournament and will be done for today. So again, watching out for Double and Lev, who are very much on opposite sides of the leaderboards right now, are the 2 key players that you want to watch out for in terms of winning this lobby itself.
Yeah, I mean, if I were Lev right now, I'd be getting real nervous. 66 HP at Krugs is, to put it into a word, awful. That is really, really dangerous, especially going into the later stages of the game. So if I'm Lev, I'm looking for the strongest composition that can just stop bleeding out. Just find something, because chances are, if Double wins this, all you need to do is place like maybe 5th, and you're guaranteed a spot. Right now, Lev is at 21 points. The following person is only at 17, and that's Voltarix. So as long as Voltarix doesn't get 4 more points than Lev, Lev is guaranteed, if Double wins this one, to be qualified for Worlds. So just go for that stronger board, go for something that stops the bleeding, so you can last long enough to at least not go out in 8th.
And again, yeah, Fault 1 is going to be the key marker again for this game, I'm pretty sure. But Voltarix is also, as you're talking about, a player we need to watch out for. But again, Voltarix is in a position where he can actually kind of tank a bad game, right? Because as long as he gets like 2 points, or even 1 point, actually, he's guaranteed to be able to, if we go to a game 5, queue up the Silver Scrapes and all that good stuff, he will be able to take the tournament as well with the first place, right? So this is like where this really becomes super interesting, because once we start approaching these later stages of this tournament, a lot of really interesting things will start to occur. Okay, doesn't want to take the RE2 despite it being probably the best carrier of Blue Buff Morello in the game for Victor.
Oh, wow. Just as we were saying that Lev really needs to find something to keep himself in the game, he just slams the Nikos for that Vayne. How do you feel about that?
It's a necessary evil kind of scenario, right? Because in an ideal world, Lev right here would have just been win streaking all the way to level 8, finding an Echo, bam, bam, double Nico, Echo 2, win the game, right? That is the dream scenario that would have occurred for Lev if he had a better opener. But right now, he just has to ensure that he plays as highly as possible. Needs to stabilize right now, because once you start getting below that 50 HP breakpoint is where this game starts becoming really, really, really dicey.
And he will avoid that 50 health marker for now. Takes out Deisic. It's a very strong Vayne. Only ever so slightly spooky, and finds the Aurelia as well. Dangerous to be looking for the 6 Cyber right here. Is just one off, but if he's able to find it early on, he should be in a strong position this game. There is at least one other Cyber player, but as you mentioned last game, can support up to 2-3 players. Going into it now, running into Voltarix, who's running that Space Pirate composition. Very powerful Darius, very spooky there in the front line, but not going to be able to get the reset onto the Fiora, so should give time for this Vayne to free fire in the back line. There's the reset. Comes in with a redemption proc, but not going to do a whole lot for the health bars because the only one who was low was the redemption carrier herself on that Fiora. So a lot of damage now coming out from Voltarix.
So a big issue for 11 in this specific fight is the fact that Graves is just a really big issue for Vayne, right? Because it just completely blocks her auto attacks away, and this carousel right here is where this game needs to go the right way for Lev. If he doesn't find what he wants right now, he is going to be in for one hell of a bad time, and he's just going to take that bow away and say, you know what, I have Last Whisper now. Maybe this is going to make or break the game.
I'm not sure how I feel about the Last Whisper pickup there, because I've always felt, especially with the new meta, now that mech is so powerful and that Vanguards have fallen out of it, unless you're running into a lot of armor, the Last Whisper doesn't seem as powerful as something like the Eye Edge or the Deathblade, which can get you more instant results, more concrete power. Sure, you can shred through the armor when you run into it, but if there's not a whole lot to shred through, you're sacrificing a lot of power. Speaking of power, though, my god, Voltarix finds the Force of Nature. Again.
Hello, darkness, my old friend, for the rest of the lobby, I guess. Just Voltarix with yet another Force of Nature here. He's just been hitting these Force of Natures, left, right, and center. And what this is going to allow him to do is you can just sure off the mid game, try to find a way to get an actual late game focused team comp going, because right now he doesn't really have a lot really going for him, right? He has a strong front line, but no real backline carry, etc. But he has time to find it. Obviously, Magaki found the mech.
Argue with that mech will be doing a ton of damage there as the Darius hops to and fro. The back line behind the mech. Be able to find some more resets here, and that mech is not going anywhere quickly. Voltarix has that Soraka trying to heal nobody. Magarki will find the further win. Level 7 now for him, but look, Double still has not lost a round. It's 3-6. And Double is at 100 HP.
It's honestly insane, right? Because in theory, this format can go on for, 9 game maximum, right? Something like that, pretty much. And
somewhere in the 7 to 9 range, yeah.
But the issue is that the Double right now, if he does, obviously we can end the game could end up ending now, right? But even then, even if Double takes second, it doesn't really matter because we're going again for another game.
Almost guaranteed to get into the finals at that point. There's almost no way you get knocked out if you're able to place top 2 this game as Double. Now Voltarix working with that incredibly stacked Darius, finding a lot of success with it. There's the 1-2 punch, going to be able to take down Sweller Tiger. And Voltarix, despite having some rough spots along the way, is having a fantastic game. Double still hasn't lost. It's PvE. He's going to get to 4-1 with 100 HP. This is ludicrous.
Noting here is, if Double is sat with 50 gold here, which I believe he is, he's going to get 26 gold over the course of 2 rounds. Because when you're sat with full win streak, full econ, you get 13 gold per round. and he's gonna get that twice because it's into PvE before next PvP battle. He's gonna have so much gold to work with that he's gonna be able to find like an absolutely insane spike.
Is this the point where you just go P.B.A. no matter what? Like, you have such a massive lead that you just try and push 9 immediately and get the strongest board humanly possible?
I mean, it's definitely an option, right? But like again, it's looking kind of rough for both Lev and Dasik. Again, right? They haven't really been able to stabilize just yet, right? They like Lev ended up beating Dasik, but then both of them just kept on losing. And we see a lot of hits coming down here on this fall 1 roll down, which is generally speaking the traditional roll down period for a lot of comps in the game right now. I mean, it looks like it's what we're seeing the try coming out here from Voltaire. So it looks like he's trying to go Astro Snipers and Mech here, but interesting because he has no tiers. So going for Astro Snipers looks a little bit interesting to me.
Yeah, he would have the Morel and Omicron and the Runons plus another bow for the Jhin, but without the blue buff, Astro Snipers is a rather weak composition because you depend so much on that Teemo getting multiple ultimates off. So for the time being, at least, we'll not have that. Mech is terrifying for Tanpop. Going to be able to find it eventually. Almost survived the entire round for that mech. Won't be enough. He gets taken down there, Voltarix.
A little bit of an
a
emote just
cheeky
thrown
emote.
in there, like, just like, hey, buddy, you know what? You suck. I'm good. Oh, bye. You know, like, just throw it in there. And
Have
it
fun
looks like
with
he's
that
just gonna
mech,
give up.
bud.
It looks like he said, you know what, Shaco is the direction that I want to go for, and with Rapid Fire Cannon plus potentially Bloodthirster, it's not going to be... It definitely is one of those things where you are looking to be quite content about that, but obviously could just let that Negatron Cloak sit on the bench just for a little bit longer, because obviously you prefer GA coming out for that Shaco. Yeah. And here we have doubles comp. Is this Solar Gesang POV, or what's going on?
Yeah, I'm kind of confused here. What the hell? Battlecast coming in, but the Shaco's doing so much to the backline. I think this might be where Double loses his streak. That Shaco's still uncontested. We'll be able to find more damage onto the Malphite. Low HP now on the Shaco. Won't matter too much. Fizz ultimate takes him out. Double has a very strong Alawi, but 1v1. Uh-oh. Just Alawi and Nocturne now.
But the Battlecast procs
come on, Nocturne!
Be like really interesting.
All right, if that's Double's win streak.
If that was videos on Nocturne, insta win, you know, like that's just insta first. If that was videos on Nocturne, but alas, it wasn't. So yeah, you hate to see it. But again, I was like kind of interested to see like why, like how Double managed to go for that long with 100 HP on that board, because that board itself didn't look that strong, right? Like
no.
Definitely didn't look like one of those boards where you're like, yeah, sure, that's Irelia 2, Vayne 2, IE, perfect items to just slam the entire lobby. That was definitely not that what it was. It was just like down to the power of the Battlecast in the early game, more or less.
Well, it was just like mediocre Battlecast too. I think there were some units that weren't even 2-star. So it is rather interesting how Double was able to win streak that long. And now where I'm concerned thinking about it is Double spent so much time, I assume, rolling rather than leveling, trying to find those units. You lose your win streak now, and Battlecast, as you and I have discussed off-stream, really doesn't do well into the latest stages of the game. And that's where I start to worry for Double. Still with a lot of health, but 2 losses in a row.
So Battlecast can definitely do well in the late game, but it requires you to like not get stuck rolling for the free cost and just giving that game plan up and going for that Urgot and Victor for the 6 Battlecast. But obviously, 4 Battlecast itself can do well, and if you hit a specific amount of those things that you're trying to freestar in the early game, for sure you can definitely spend some time sitting down trying to roll for it, right? But again, I just prefer going for the 6 Battlecast instead, because I like that power spike over having to hold a bunch of units on bench that will hurt my econ, and eventually I will get stronger, but it's going to hold me back compared to the rest of the lobby, right?
Yeah. Now, checking out the board state, we'll be able to find that Thresh for Voltarix, just leveling up and immediately slamming that thing in there. Very big power spike, alongside the GA, no less.
Issue here is that bench is really poor, and for Voltarix right now, if he wants to hold bench units, he's going to hurt his econ quite dramatically, and while that is definitely something that you can have happen to you, and might not punish it too hard, it's not going to be that big. I want to highlight something very quickly, though. Lev has started win streaking.
Wow, from 34 HP. I want to see that board if we get the chance. Because I wonder how that happens. You go that low and must have just hit. Meanwhile, Day 6 mech not doing too hot. That Shaco is absolutely terrifying.
Not looking too good for the most recent F2K pickup here. Day 6, obviously, but it is what it is sometimes. It is what it is sometimes, and sometimes the game just doesn't really line up too well for you, right? And that can happen for sure. And I think that it's going to be alright. I think it's interesting to see what TeamFight is doing right here. It looks like he was just kind of repurposing some bench as well as just purchasing a little bit of XP, trying to go for level 8, and then most likely going for a 5-1 roll down instead.
He's going mech infiltrator.
There are so many mechs in this lobby, by the way. It is so contested. Is that 4 players on mech, or was it only 3?
That's 3 or 4, yeah.
Dramatic amount of mechs. And that's like where critical mass starts to come in, because the mech cannot support more than 2 players of mechs. Like, we saw this in the olden days of mech infiltrator, where like people just hold hands to 7th and 8th if they started contesting each other. It's just not a comp that really supports that many players effectively. I think that it's not as bad these days as it used to be, because it used to be really bad because you would have to freestyle everything to really like have a good chance of going well in that game, which is not really an issue anymore. But still, 4 players is too many, you know?
Yeah, that's a lot of mechs. Too many people have been watching Gundam recently. Well, the very least, TeamFight going to be trying to level up with the gold that he has. Going to swap out the 4 infiltrator. Put the Victor in, slap that Morello, and tier on him most likely. Looking risky for him. Valtarius, though, still in the win streak. I want to point out Double. Again, we're tracking him for most of the game by, I want to say, 4-1, 100% health. Now at 4-7, down to 60. It's quite the meteoric drop, really, in health so rapidly. He's cruising for a bottom 8.
Yeah, and it's kind of what happened in the previous game as well, right? Like, had a really strong opener. It seems like that's his playstyle, is that he just likes to prioritize really strong openers, which is most definitely a good way to go about it. And look at this roll down, by the way, coming through here. Absolute machine. TeamFight just knows what he's looking for. He is so comfortable on the mech that he knows he's not going to get stuck thinking over things. He knows what he's looking for, and that is one of the most important aspects when you go for a big roll down, is being secure in what you're rolling for. Because if you start hesitating for just 1 second, that is not going to bode well for you.
We'll find the Death Cap GA on top of that Gangplank. Gets at least 1 ultimate off. Ooh, onto the pulled in Urgot as well, followed up by the mech ultimate. That should be a quick cleanup there onto Valtarius' backline. Shaco alive. Mech low. There goes Victor. Shaco, just ludicrous amounts of damage. Sorry, TeamFight. You're not going to be able to take this one just yet.
But there you saw it, right? You saw like why mech is such a strong composition, because it has that 1-2 punch when you get that when you get the GP going. And something that's worth noting is that on patch 10.16, the mech was actually nerfed for the first 6, until you found all the mech pilots to be 2-star. So obviously right now this mech is not as strong as it's supposed to be, because he's lacking just pure power in the mech itself.
Yeah, like we were mentioning, super contested right now. And Solo Gasong, the first game where he plays something that he's not used to, having a lot of success, as we saw, 44 HP, because all these mech players just holding hands down to bottom 4. Basic being one of them, running into Sweller Tiger. Count at least 3 mechs now. Sweller Tiger will take the loss in that one. Deisic stand in there.
So what's really like going well for Deisic here in terms of how he's hit this, as we did swap from TeamFight to Deisic more or less mid-fight, is that Deisic, he has the 2-star Annie and stuff, right? He has 2-star Rumble, he's 2-star Annie. But he also look at his Victor items. Like, he has a secondary item, secondary carry itemized fully. He doesn't have that GP that we saw from TeamFight, but he has a lot more punch coming out of the Victor, which will really help just clean up these back lines. And if this Victor gets positioned properly, like, it can start just hitting the entire enemy team, because Victor will always aim towards the furthest away unit from the unit he's attacking, I believe is how it works. And that is definitely something that is worth looking out for.
Ooh, ultimate gets interrupted there. Victor not going to be able to find the damage that you're looking for as Lev. We can see now how the win streak came out. It's with these cybernetics. Deisic dropped incredibly low, and Lev still having a fantastic time. 23 HP, sure, but an incredibly strong board, and has been holding on to that HP very well.
Yep, and if I'm in Deisic's shoes right now, obviously I'm going to be a little bit annoyed, a little bit upset, a little bit scared. But I think that he hit probably one of the strongest players in the lobby right now. Okay, this is interesting because that's potential opening for a spatula now, right? That you can then dissolve into whatever spat you're looking for. But there are also just some strong components in general to work with here. Trotsky insta goes for the Death Blade, because just having that Death Blade on something like an Aurelia or the Vayne, it's just insane, because when you get even more attack damage going, that comp starts popping off even harder.
Yeah, nobody going for that QSS Janna just yet. There it is, Voltarix. Maybe able to utilize it in his composition. I don't think it's a particularly good spot, so probably just looking for those components. He's sitting pretty at 59 HP in that first place position. Now, Deisic rolls down. Does he hit? Fortunately for him, not able to find a whole lot more power. As a Bramble Vest, where's he going to put it? Oof.
This
on the Echo.
This is clever. It's clever. It's obviously not optimal, but it is going to add a little bit more damage going on to those backline carries here, because obviously it's going to be focusing the Echo, and then the Echo will just do a little bit more damage as you find another incredibly strong cybernetic player.
Very unfortunate for him. The mech holding on as best it can, gets the healing off. Victor does a ton of damage to the backline, but look at that Vayne free firing away as well. Popped into the GA. Mech's down, but Rumble's not.
But worth noting here, the worth thing noting here is the fact that if you look at the Victor crits coming out, they just really just like one-shot the first of all, just one-shot the entire right side backline, got rid of the illusion, etc. Then went off to more or less just one-shot the rest of the backline, right? And that is what Victor does so well, and why spell crit is pretty busted on him actually. Is due to the nature of how spell crit functions and how his ability works. Because the first one is a flat amount of damage, I believe, and then the second one is HP damage. And that when those damage starts critting in, that is just an insane amount of damage just coming out.
Yeah, Victor, his percent HP damage is why mech can be so strong with just one damage carry outside of the mech, because he just does so much to that backline in an AoE. So this is going to be the real test for his composition. Protector A-Soul coming out from Double, doing so much. The ultimate can't get the stun off, of course, because it is that starship. And that is a very rough round there for Deisic. He gets knocked out.
You just sit there and you just get that enemy AC 130 above PTSD whenever you see that 2-star already on Solid just firing away, you know? And in TFT, you can't really hide from it. It's coming to get you.
Double, though, seems to have recovered pretty well. We were talking about his composition in the earlier stages of the game, and we were not sure exactly how it was going. Like, oh, that's really rough. He went Battlecast and didn't really hit. Suddenly, he's got a Protector A-Soul with Morel and Omicron. And that's about as much as you can hit. That's a ton of damage in the later stages of the game. So he's really turned it around.
Indeed. You were talking about that. You were talking about that Peeper comp coming in for rides, and I think that is pretty much where he ended up at. I feel like Voltarix will try to do something similar here, as he has hit level 9. You see him holding some of those stronger 5 costs. Could just be going into a straight up Darkstar though, which is also a very, very prominent option right now.
Gonna be trying to find that Xerath if he is going for it. Not quite able to hit, but you have that Thresh to pull it in. Worst case scenario. This is the matchup that we're looking for. Because if Double is able to win this matchup, it would seem likely he's able to win the entire qualifier off this game. watch, keep an eye on that Protector Asol. That is the key to this composition for double. Meanwhile, the Shaco needs to tear through the backlines in order to find success. Not going to be able to do so. Shaco gets taken down, and double looking mighty strong.
That is a two-star Seraph, however, and that could be the key to this game. Because right now, what can happen is that we'll see this Fist get sold, make the Rage Blade onto the Seraph here, prioritize getting the Karma onto that set Seraph, Pure sets him up, and then you can also just go for a Zeke's Herald on one of the supporting units, just get even more attack speed onto the Seraph. And Seraph 2 is one of the strongest units in the game, just does a severe amount of damage that you're not expecting.
Mm-hmm. Which means Magarki very likely in trouble here. The last surviving mech. The last of his kind. A very powerful Aurelian Soul for him as well. And this will be a good test to see how double will do. But that Xerath, like you said, just does so much damage. Ult is down. Will he be able to find the kill? Nope. There goes Xerath into the ultimate. Magarki, not quite knocked out, but very low. Lev, however, killed down to 4th place.
Most definitely. Something that I think we'll be looking that Voltairix will be looking to add in here most likely should be the Celestial. And that's due to the fact that right now, having that extra healing present for that, both the Shaco as well as the Seraph is going to be super important. Especially when you're playing a Shaco that doesn't have access, that doesn't have Bloodthirster. That is where it starts to become really, really, really key that Celestial gets put in, because it's just a lot of healing. Even through this Morellonomicon coming out here, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of healing coming through.
Cinder gets taken out first. Here comes double. Magarki trying to do as best he can with his own Aurelian Soul, but that Protector is just so strong on top of the D-Claw. Meanwhile, on Voltairix's board, that Protector Asol still ticking. Magarki's out. 3rd place. And now, Voltairix gets taken low. Double just needs one more win on the round to secure his place in the World Championships.
And again, this carousel is a little bit interesting, right? Because that was a very clear intent from Double in terms of what he wanted. But it was kind of hard for Voltairix to figuring out what he actually wanted to get off of that carousel. And he's still just trying to find his way through something that eventually will end up being good for him. He finds that Fist 2 was going to be a pretty major upgrade, being able to really do a lot more hurt in the back line. But again, still running that Mordekaiser 1 in the front line. That's not a very durable minion. Lulu 1 is also one of those five stars that you really want to have 2-star, because the 2-person polymorph, it's fine, it's all right, it's whatever. But when you get to that 2-star point where it's the 4, it's 4 polys coming out, it becomes a lot better. And here it goes.
Double Aurelian Soul on the board for double 61. He has so much damage coming out of this Asol. The Xerath still alive though for Voltairix. The health on Asol's down. Shaco put into the GA. Shaco still alive. The Protector from Nico. Can she take it down? It doesn't look like it. Double loses the round. From here, all up to the positioning. Voltairix should take this Asol, deny it away.
Now, this is TFT, right? This is what you all want to see. This is the biggest thing about, this is the late game fights. It's a drama. This is everything on the line right now, right? These are the stakes we're fighting for. This could potentially be the end of the lobby, the end of the entire game, the end of the European Championships coming out after this next fight. Because if Volta doesn't clutch up, Double takes the series.
All up to Voltairix now. The double Asol hit in the corner. Shaco will find its way into that backline. Turns onto the Syndra first, then rotates onto the Victor. So the Asols will be ticking for a while. But look at that Shaco damage, not being contested at all. Asol, the only thing left that can really do any damage. And Nico trying to survive as best she can, but gets taken out by the Shaco. Protector not going to be enough, and there goes double low. 1 life left. This item will decide whether he stays in or not. Oh, Morellonomicon for Voltairix.
That could be good. That could be quite good. Just even more AP onto this Seraph. It's just super important. Last Whisper, not super relevant. I can see Lev in the chat just typing out Volta. He just wants this to go on forever. I know. Oh,
Everyone's
this is amazing, you know. I mean, is this what we're going to be happening? We want the Silver Scrapes. We want that Game 5. We want the big, grandiose final, even though this one itself is pretty grandiose, not going to lie, but who knows?
Oh,
maybe it
Echo
might be
2.
grandiose after this. Wait, that's not
That
that's
Echo
not a
2
rage blade.
should be enough to guarantee the win.
That's not a rage blade. That is best in slot items for this Seraph. This is absolutely huge.
This is nuts now. Double. I don't know how he's going to get his way back into that. The double healing reduction there onto the Echo. They really want no healing going down. Now, double Urgot 2 may be enough here for Double to win this through. The Shaco ripping through that backline once again. Victor tries to get the damage down onto the Xerath. Not going to be able to find it. There goes the Urgot. Finds the Echo. Good start at the very least. Nico stays alive, but that's so much damage. Acel, the last one standing. There goes Xerath popping off, and Volteric secures a first place finish and denies Double the victory.
Chew up those Silver Scrapes, man. Game 5 coming up, man. This is gonna be exciting.
It does not get much closer than that. I was standing here just with my face maybe 5 inches from the monitor, trying to keep track of every single unit. Double denied twice in that game what felt like win streak momentum. And he made an incredible pivot after that first streak got stopped to still be in the game. Which, I think the real story, though, is Voltarix, who walks away with the win. The way he plays that end game, the RNG he pulls out in the end game is huge.
I mean, again, he just utilized salvage well to the best of his ability, right? He ended up making the correct slam, and then he ended up with items to make that second rage play for Seraph that ended up being incredibly crucial, right? Because that is one of the powers of the late game strats on Salvage World, because you can much easier get a crutch throughout the mid game where you won't take as much damage. And then we just saw the fact that he just found that double rage play best in slot Seraph and just, took over the game.
The second he survived that first round and he had the wiggle room to actually play it, every decision he made thereafter was the most impressive thing in the universe. The item management on Savage World is Galaxy Brain, and I have nothing but respect for the players who can handle it. Matt, I know you keep track of the numbers much better than I do. Is anyone else kind of ticking on your radar right now? Obviously, we have Double, Voltarix, and Lev, who are very much top of the standings right now. Are there any dark horses we should be paying attention to at the bottom of the field?
I know this is not the answer you're going to be looking for, TJ, but not really. They have been so dominant thus far. I'm going to read out the scores for everyone at home. The bottom 4, 17, 17, 14, 12. And 16. I did not do bottom 4 correctly. That's the bottom 5. You want to know what the top 3 are? 31, 27, and 26 from Double, Volteric, and Lev, respectively.
A clear dividing line. And I've been really impressed throughout the entire day with that dividing line. It feels to me it's the difference between the players that are flexing very quickly between compositions, making those quick pivots when they need to, and the players who are getting kind of stuck when they don't get their draws. Witter, is that a fair characterization?
I mean, that definitely could be so, but right? Again, look at Lev, for example, has been showing a very clear preference for playing cybernetics, for example, and still is in that top 3, right? And again, it just highlights that the current patch that we're on is probably one of the best in the history of the game, to be completely honest, because everything can win, right? We've seen multiple different compositions just win games today.
How are you feeling about Solo? I'll bounce this back to you, Witter. He changes things up again. He's stepping outside of that one-trick label. And to be frank, it does seem to be going better for him.
I think that is definitely like the right way of going about it. Solo Gasang again, like is a player that has been at the top of the game for a long time. Has played in some of the bigger like Riot set highlight invitations as well in the past, Rise of the Elements, etc. And it's like he knows his way about the tournament, and that is something that is incredibly crucial to highlight because as a player, Solo is just so good at the game. And I think that he kind of limited himself a little bit in the first 2 games, but obviously has been starting to picking up the slack a little bit.
We do have the official scores tabulated, and we will be taking a look at them. Matt, you said earlier that there's nobody you're really paying attention to on the bottom side of the field. Tell me who you're paying the most attention to among the 3 players bearing the blue potato chip, then.
Honestly, Voltarix. I would normally say double because that's the more points, but that's the easy answer, TJ. I'm going for the harder one. Voltarix has finished first 2 rounds in a row. If he can get the three-peat, but he just wins the tournament outright. And honestly, considering his gameplay in the last 2 games, I suspect he is more than capable of that. The French player just looking so incredibly strong this game.
As a reminder to chat, anyone with that little blue potato chip next to their name needs 1 win to end the tournament. It does not matter how many points they have, it matters that they win. Anyone who's behind that, then we calculate based on the points for the 2-3 slots and the ticket to Galaxies. So we have 3 players with the win condition achieved, just waiting on that final win. You're most excited for the Frenchman. Matt, I'll bounce it to you, Witter, as we head towards break. If you had to call it from this top 3, which one are you most excited to see?
I'm gonna say my boy Love again. You know, like I gotta hold it down for Denmark. You know,
a little bit
like,
of a homer. Yeah, okay.
yeah. I'm biased here. Okay, like there's one Danish player in the top 8. Of course, I'm gonna be biased towards the Danish player. You know.
Well, there are no British players in the top 8, so I guess I will just be the neutral observer. We'll go to a quick break, 5 minutes on the clock, then we return with what quite possibly, quite probably, will be the final game of the evening. The EU TFT finals are getting intense, and you won't want to tune out now. Don't re-roll that browser. We'll be right back after this.